And on today's show, how annuity products generate income and sales. Part one of this week's series on annuity retirement income with nationally recognized retirement expert Curtis Cloke. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician in Innsmouth. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to the show, Curtis.
Thank you, Steve. Good to be here.
Curtis, I got to say, I'm just happy to see you. I've been at so many of your gigs. I've seen your last Thrive University. It's huge. If you have not been to one of these universities, you need to go out there and you say, Steve, I don't even know about this. This is one of the most intense, I would have to say, almost Navy SEALs Marine Corps boot camp I've ever seen on retirement. And if you haven't seen any of Curtis's material, it's huge. And of course, he is the designer and architect of what I call the annuity bulldozer, one of the top ways of measuring which income scenario actually works the best. And for some of you who are a little new to Curtis, he's an adjunct instructor for the American College. Talk a little bit about this new certification they have. You know, I know CFP, I know CLU, CHFC. What's this new one?
Well, the new one is the RICP Retirement Income Certified Professionals designation. And there are many experts around the country have been included in the curriculum with the RICP, and I just happen to be one of them. And I would tell you it's one of the most robust quality designation programs through the American College that I have experienced. And there's, I think, 3,500 students currently signed up in the class. And we just happen to be doing course studies of classroom style and performing the proctored exams at the end of those classrooms.
So this has become a popular certification.
Yes, it has.
Well, let's talk about this. Some of you may not know, not only is Curtis an adjunct instructor, but he has his own personal practice where he has been court of the table, top of the table, MDRT, Forum 400 recipient. And he's been doing serious, until you got into speaking, you were hammering about 20 million in annuities a year, about $1 million in target premium. And he has, and his firm with his son and others that are with him, about 900 million under management. So people say, why should I listen to Curtis today? I just gave you the biggest reason why. Production. That's a lot of production. And in the middle of all this, you invented this thing called the Annuity Bulldozer, which we're going to talk about Friday. Now, Curtis, I want to get into some basic ideas here. I want to talk about, when we're talking about income, we're talking about SPIAs, single premium immediate annuity, DIAs, deferred income annuity, which I think is going to be new to some of our people. We have withdrawal benefits on index and variable contracts. We know those are our four basic platforms. And I've noticed that some deferred annuities that are just interest, they're just locked down for 5 years, 7 years, they also give annuitization issues too, and withdrawal benefits. Talk a little bit about basic thinking when I talk about SPIAs, DIAs, FIAs, and VIAs. Variable, indexed, deferred, or actually deferred income, and of course single premium immediate.
Well, of course, most folks know what a single premium immediate income annuity is, but very few really recognize all the features associated with that particular product and today's modern product selection. So, you know, immediate income annuity is how you buy income when you need income within 12 months. And with a deferred income annuity, it's very similar. Few tax quirks that are slightly different depending on the timing of when income begins. But basically, a SPIA is something that starts before 13 months, and a DIA is something that starts from 13 months up to 40, 50 years in the future, and can be paid out for up to 40 years after income is started. So it's a way to buy income now or buy income later.
Where actually this DIA thinking is really, even it's an old product, it's been around for a long time, but you kind of resurrected it, you kind of stumbled upon this product, and now it's becoming, how do I shop for blocks of income? This is really one of the options.
Yeah, we call our process buy income and invest the difference, or buy income and invest the rest. In 1999, I accidentally, trying to quote a SPIA, put an income start date 10 years in the future by pure accident, and was able to get a quote with some amazing results. And working with the actuary that designed, or worked on the committee that designed the product, I was able to discover what was told to me as a deferred SPIA. I would later coin the word DIA later that year in 1999. And, you know, today that happens to be the tagline for this product in the industry.
Now, I know your product, the Bulldozer, looks at all these options so that you can see which is going to deliver. Sometimes the actual withdrawal benefit on an index or a rider on an index product is better than a DIA, but sometimes a deferred income generates actually more. You have to kind of figure out which one's going to be the best.
Yeah, I say all products are good and all products are bad. It depends on the story. It depends on the specifications, the particular needs of a client, the length of delay, what you're trying to accomplish. And very few people really have tools agnostically to test pure math to say which one wins the day. How can I create this income appropriately using the absolute least amount of dollars today to allocate to that need?
I was amazed when I was on Canex this weekend when I'm looking at different scenarios for income and how this changes. Curtis, I'm surprised. Why is the SPIA and DIA market, seems like it's always moving?
Well, certainly it is moving constantly. In fact, almost any day of the week, there appears to be, based on the case facts that we're calculating with our analytical team, almost every day of the week there's a new anomaly in pricing that I find on that particular day. Understand that the features are different, what manufacturers are looking for to round out their portfolio is different. There are new carriers coming to town. All those things every day make a big difference in terms of pricing. And so what you knew prior isn't necessarily what you know today.
We come back from the break. We're going to talk more with Curtis on some of the basic ideas of annuities, because starting tomorrow all the way through Friday, we're going to get into some of the deep ideas that you can do to really make annuities work for you. We'll be right back in a moment. Back in the day, life insurance professionals were called field underwriters. Then, carriers trained their field force in the basics of life insurance underwriting. Today, the insurance industry doesn't educate the agent population as they once did. But now you can have the Informed Risk Guide at your fingertips so you can illustrate a reasonable rate class for your life insurance prospects. Just request your copy of the Informed Risk Guide at downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. It's free from Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. So Curtis, I want to talk about in this segment, there's so many ways. I'm looking at SPIA income, I'm looking at DIA income, I'm looking at the withdrawal benefits, I'm looking at the income riders, and I'm going to look at every single one of these. I don't know about auto-triggering any rider until I've actually went out to the Bulldozer or Canex. I'm looking at different ways to measure what's right. But before we get into this, I'm kind of curious, because my number one problem with annuities is we have the wrong owner, the wrong annuitant, the wrong beneficiary. And this is not a small anomaly where we're making a mistake. This is a major constant mistake that I see in annuity products. Walk me through a little bit of this.
Well, certainly there's two things to really focus on: annuity ownership and proper beneficiary arrangements. What are you trying to accomplish? Who you're not wanting to disinherit? And then maybe annuity tax issues, very important to understand. And so, probably one of the least understood ownership beneficiary arrangements that really is shocking to many advisors and insurance agents out there is unqualified dollars. Very few of them understand that you can actually buy a joint lifetime income stream on somebody owns a qualified account, and you can actually protect both spouses, even the spouse that doesn't own the annuity. Obviously, that spouse becomes the owner of the asset and the income recipient at the time of death. But there was a recent article posted out there on LinkedIn recently on a particular site that talked about a second marriage where a much older husband, much younger wife, wants to have full control. He lists the beneficiary, unfortunately, the wrong person, and he ends up disinheriting his spouse to his children. Even though his children receive all the other assets, he wanted to leave his younger spouse a stream of income when he died. And because that was improperly established, unfortunately, he disinherited his second wife, totally unintentional. But there's certainly liability to the agent involved because he really didn't know what he was doing.
When I'm looking at non-qualified, though, I've noticed that you have annuities, you have the annuitant, you have the owner, and you have the beneficiary. And sometimes I've seen this mistake where they're putting the wrong people. The mother owns the contract, but the child is the beneficiary. Mom gets settled with the bill, but the beneficiary goes to the money goes to the children, which was never really the first intent at death. Yeah,
so you got to make sure that you're setting up not just primary ownership issues, but what's the contingent ownership issue? Who's supposed to control this when the primary annuitant passes away? Oftentimes, I also see an issue, especially on deferred annuities, where a lot of times the agent or advisor will position joint ownership. And what they don't understand is that the spouse has a spousal continuance option, or whether it's qualified or non-qualified, whether they're joined on the contract or not, but they're also likely named as the beneficiary. So when I tie a contract such as that to a joint arrangement, I force the hand of the surviving spouse to keep the contract in play. Well, if there's a waiver at surrender at death, and I give the spouse the choice of taking over a spousal continuance or to take over as the beneficiary with a liquidity event, because maybe I need the liquidity now that my spouse has passed away. Unfortunately, I keep that from happening when I don't list the primary annuitant solely as the annuitant owner and simply name the spouse as the beneficiary.
Yeah, to me, this is a really huge issue. We need to understand the ownership issues, the beneficiaries, who's the annuitant. When we're looking at this, I also noticed that you do all kinds of things. People just usually run an income scenario and they run it to either 10, 20 years certain, 25 years, whatever their certain period, or they're doing lifetime income. But there's no issue like installment refund. There's not cash refund. Talk a little bit about some of the things we're leaving off the table that could actually make a sale here.
Well, obviously the argument with income annuities, lifetime income annuities, is that you annuitize the dollars. And that's not true. That's true if you're doing a life-only position, but we never, ever do a life-only position unless we're usually arbitraging with a life insurance policy, or we're dealing with a much aged individual who has very few assets and they need to leverage as much income as possible. But you need to consider installment refund options. You need to consider cash refund options. Life with period certain, joint life with period certain installment and cash refund. You need to consider commutation riders, liquidity opportunities of being able to take money back out if you decided later that you put too much in. There are all kinds of provisions, inflation adjustments, COLA arrangements. There's static COLA arrangements from 1/10 of a point up to 6.5% depending on the product, and then there are indexing strategies like CPIU.
That sounds so high. You're saying that there's some contracts out there that go all up to 6.5%?
Correct.
Wow, that's a huge COLA. I mean, that's monstrous. When you're looking at these, do you ever see one that you use more as a cash refund more popular than installment?
You know, the most, we shop all of them. When we're looking at a case study, and these anomalies I talk about every day, sometimes you'll be surprised if you just shop the best in class on installment, the best in class in cash refund, and then you do a calculation based on the income payments for the period certain, you never know which one of those is going to guarantee the money back, either over time or in a lump sum at death, but which one's going to create the lowest cost present value. And we find anomalies with that regard on Canex every day of the week.
So you could shop this. You don't have to worry about, hey, do I need to memorize what cash refund is, what installment? It's already on there.
Yes.
So you just push in the button, you go, who's going to give me the best? It could be a SPIA with these additives. It could be a deal with this. It could be the withdrawal benefit of an index. So all these are possible.
Yes, we have an analytical team that's been doing this since 1999. We take in cases from about 40 advisors around the country in addition to our own cases. And one of the things that we look for is we look for how to optimize these income strategies while preserving and protecting in case they die too soon, kicking longevity risk in case they live too long. How do we guarantee some liquidity by commutation riders? And at the same time, how do we mitigate some of the COLA adjustment and the future essential inflation issues?
Well, when we come back tomorrow, we're going to talk about more about this whole annuity. That's all the time we have for our show today. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance officer. Hey, missed an episode? You can view all our past episodes at downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. And remember, you could be wiser as an Ash Brokerage advisor. I'm Steve Savant. We'll see you tomorrow.